Alright, now here's what I gotta do. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm using a highlighter here to work with. Oh, just great. Anyway, when I first bought the van, I've got a 102-inch stainless steel. It's a quarter wave length for 11 meters. It also works on 10 meters, and you can tune it and tweak it a little bit further than that if you have to. Now, as a rule, most of the antennas that are transceivers, they receive and transmit, use your vehicle as part of the antenna. That's the ground portion of the antenna. So where the antenna is placed on the vehicle will make a big difference as to how steady your signal is. Hypothetically speaking, if this is the van and I put an antenna dead center, my signal is going to be pretty even. It's going to reflect naturally, and the larger part of the van is going to give me the further distance. If I was to put it back here, well, let's just say it's going to go like that. If I put it over here, it's going to go like that. So if I put it on the trunk of a car, it's going to go like that. You follow me? If I put it on the front fender, it's going to go more like that. Just kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. You know, it could actually go this way, but that's what we're talking about. Now, so it's important that it's connected to the van, the ground portion. So most of your antennas are designed to work around that and are the mounts. Now, here is this particular mount. And if we look in here, you'll see a little bit of gap. Well, in that little gap is actually a piece of nylon. Okay. Now this is a different type. This isn't the same as the malt, but the principle is the same. Okay, I'll show you what I mean on this one. This is more of your average everyday stud mount. Okay, you see that little thing in there? Now this doesn't come out like the other one does. This is all one sealed piece. Okay, and that's that little insulator. Now what that's doing is it's insulating the outer part here, the threaded part, and this wrench type nut part from the stud, 3/24 stud part. The stud part is the hot side of the antenna. The ground side has to touch the car, has to touch metal someplace, not fiberglass, has to touch metal. And that's what that is. So when you drill a hole, you have to drill a hole so that this grommet will snap in. And that will isolate this. Well, let me use this grommet because I'm using this one. Like I say, I'm working with two different pieces here and I'm going to confuse you. When you drill that hole that has that little lip on it, see it? That's going to snap into that half-inch hole. A clean half-inch hole. Can't have any burrs underneath it. So when you put this up through it, it's going to isolate that part of the vehicle from the ground, from the power side. Okay, because this part fits down on top of that part. So this can't move around inside the hole and touch. Now if it's real thick, you may have to go with a different type of grommet that has a thicker ring on it. Okay, and that's how that works. So that kind of just snaps in. Now when you screw the lock washer and everything on the top of this, the antenna will screw into this, and then you have yourself your antenna system. Now this goes down tight and it gets tightened up from both sides. The antenna wire screws into the bottom, and now you're connected using the vehicle as a ground. But it's important that they're isolated, and it's important that the antenna is mounted to metal. The more the better. And you don't want it too cheap or too tinny for the most part, because if the antennas are larger and heavy, they're going to have a tendency of rocking a little bit. Now, a company called Firestick used to make one that had a large washer around it. which helped if you were putting it into a thinner type of metal or tin. But basically that's how it works. So in my van, when I did the bumper had that plastic cover on the top. So what I had to do was I had to drill a hole big enough to fit the whole stud down so that it would touch the actual bumper, the metal part of the bumper. Then in the metal part of the bumper, we'll do this here. Well, let me do it here. I drilled a 1/2 inch hole, and the plastic piece at this point had about 1.25 inches, so I was able to work. The stud went up. This is the threaded. Went up into the 1/2 inch hole. The top part had the bushing that sunk into the hole. The stud comes out of that, and then we screw this piece down on top of it. So basically, with the collar down, it looks something like that, with the bumper in between here. Okay. So, and you want to use the lock washer and the washer, and these go on the top of that plastic bushing. Now, that worked out okay. However, I was getting a lot of rocking, even though I tied it off and things. And the stud that I used wasn't quite as good. It was one of these here with a lesser ring collar. That's why I'm going with this one here, because it has a better collar. Actually, I can just add this collar to that one. I just have to drill that out. But other than that, I'm going to add a better stud. However, what I'm thinking of doing is, instead of drilling into the bumper again, I'm probably just going to get myself a piece of 1/4 inch plate, come out with it, drill the 1/2 inch hole in the plate, then I can bolt the plate to the bumper. Now it'll stick out a little bit, but at the same time I think I'll have a better connection. The only problem being is the wire will be coming out underneath it here instead of being protected up underneath the bumper. So any elements that are getting thrown up may have a tendency of getting thrown up on that PL259 connector that's screwed in here with the wire. So I got to decide which way I want to go. You know, do I want to put just a better stud in the hole that I already have, excuse me, and put it where it is, or do I want to add the bar? So, but that's what I'm up to so far today. I will probably just add it to where it was to see how this stud actually works, because this is a better stud. It's all stainless steel. This is just coated, chrome plated. Again, it's got a bigger collar, so I'll probably be better off with this particular unit. In the hole that I already have, I'll just clean up the hole to make sure that I get a good ground up underneath, because I want it to be clean. So I'll get up under there with a brush and a steel brush and clean it down real good. So, and then at that point, that's going to be the easiest way out, because the wires already run there as well. The only problem is it's on the passenger side of the van, the rear bumper. So when I'm going down the street, if there's any nearby low overhanging trees, it's always hitting the trees. So, and I can tie it down to the gutter, but you really can't transmit it with down there. You're not supposed to. You're going to have problems. You can end up blowing up the radio, heating up what they call the output transistor, the finals. What happens is, if you have a signal, we'll say 4 watts, trying to go out the antenna wire to the antenna, and the SWRs are high. Now with 11 meters and CB being as cheap as they are, the finals are not going to take the abuse that other radios will. So, you know, 115, 18, I personally wouldn't run over a 16, 17, 18. I'd be thinking about. There's actually a red, you know, mark on your meter. It'll say zone warning, warning. Alright, but what happens is the higher the SWR, 1 to 1.1, forget about it. 1 to 1.5 is actually decent. 1 to 1.2, 3, 4, 5 is good because that actually gives you a little bit more poof. Alright, but what happens is the higher the SWRs, the antenna, theoretically, I'm just telling you, so you kind of understand, will start pushing the power back in. It's not letting the power out, basically. So as this 4 watts is trying to go out, and there's something stopping it and slowing it down, the transistor, your output transistor, your final, power amplifier, that's going to heat up and blow. So SWRs mean a lot. You just can't hook things up and expect them to work. Oh, it goes on the trunk of my car. It's got a trunk mount. Let me trunk it on. Well, you put it on a car and you put it on a fiberglass trunk, and you got a problem. All right. It's good to know and research some of this stuff. So check it out when you're dealing with transceivers, CB, ham radio, boofang, whatever you want to call these things. If you're hooking it up to a vehicle, if a magnet won't stick to it, then it's not going to work for you unless it's what they call a self-ground plane antenna. The antenna itself is made to work on a fiberglass vehicle. They don't work as well, but they work safely. So I think I'm going to do that, and we'll take it from there. Here you go. There's a few people out there that don't know what that is. Anybody knows what? Anybody know what that's used for? What type of tool is that, and what's it for? Now, there's one person out there I know knows for sure what it is, and he knows who I'm talking about. I don't know if everybody would know, and if you don't, it's just because you don't deal with something that this works with. It's not an everyday tool for everybody, let's put it that way.